Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
We're back. It's episode 56 of The Brunch and Judge.
Yay! We're back.
We're back. We're your hosts. I'm April.
And I'm Claire.
And this week, we are bringing you some really fun stories from history.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say it's fun. But...
I mean, it's not like... Well, that's fair. Maybe fun's the wrong word because mine isn't super fun either. It's kind of a downer, but it's good.
Right.
It's good. You'll like it. You'll like it. We'll probably find things to laugh at because that's who we are.
Right.
But first, Claire, what are you judging this week?
You know what? I don't even know that's really a judge, but as you know, I went axe throwing yesterday. It was a
Yes,
birthday
yes.
outing with a bunch of girls. And like first throw, it was like almost bullseye. And I was like, okay. And they're like, are you sure you haven't done this before? And I'm like, yeah, no, I've never thrown axes at anything ever. And I wound up hitting the bullseye like 4 times. And so they just kept saying,
Wow.
man, if there's a zombie apocalypse, we're
You
gonna
know,
get you. And I'm just like, wait, wait,
maybe
wait.
one first and foremost, amazing and impressive because like I'm not doing that. I'm not that good. But two, is it possible that you, in fact, were Lizzie Borden in a past life?
I mean,
or or
perhaps.
or the or you were in fact the Velisca axe murderer, right?
Whoa. Whoa.
Velisca.
Ooh. Yes,
Throwing it
Ballista,
back.
yes.
Throwing it back. I remember that
Yeah.
episode.
Uh-huh. Oh. That would be bad. I don't want to be that person.
Well, I mean, you're a much better person now, but that doesn't mean in a past life you were a good
I
person.
was a person. Yeah, right.
You're just it's fine. You're not it's not your fault what you did in a past life. It
Yeah,
wasn't
that
really
wasn't me. That
you.
wasn't me.
It wasn't you. It's
No.
fine. That's
It
fine.
is, yeah, it's fine.
So you're
World is not on
saying
fire. It's
you
fine.
you took you picked up an X. So here's what I'm perplexed by. I feel like overnight these things popped up. These axe throwing places that usually have,
It's true. They really did. Like,
and it wasn't like a single one popped up, like 10 of them popped up overnight. And it was just like
right.
a thing that people do, usually connected to drinking, which is disconcerting. But
Yes. Like, we got there,
I'm
and that's the
like,
first thing they did was like, oh, here, have some drinks.
uh,
It was like, so we had a
what?
picture of like this yummy, fruity alcohol goodness while
Right?
we're throwing axes.
So
Yes.
I feel like,
That's what I'm judging. Why are we doing this? No, I'm kidding. I
well,
mean, it was
no,
fun. It was lots of fun.
no. I'm just, who, what insurance company is offering any kind of coverage to these places? Because I'm
I
like,
mean, we had
okay,
to sign a waiver, which I know waivers can be pretty much useless,
right.
but
But
you know,
like, and just I feel like, okay, let's say I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. And someone comes in to me and they're like, I want to open a new business and I need to talk about insurance. I'm like, oh, okay, well, can you tell me a little bit about it? And so then they proceed to tell me about the concept of like throwing axes to hit a bullseye. And I'm like, that feels pretty dangerous. What kind of safety things are you going to have in place? And they're like, we'll paint lines on the floor. Okay, it's okay. All right,
now this one
sure.
I will say the lanes were divided by like chain link fence stuff. So if something bounced, it hit
Right.
the chain link fence so it wouldn't come across. And then they were like, because you were two like side by side, 2 lanes. So we had like 2 lanes. And so she was like, you have to throw together and go collect it together. So it was like, don't just one person throw, and while they're going to grab it, somebody else, because they
But
did bounce. Like if it didn't stick in the wall, it did bounce. Like one bounced like almost all the way back to us. It was not my
right.
throw, it was somebody else's. But still, it was like, I mean, they do ricochet. if they don't stick in
Well,
the wood.
and you know that's what I'm saying. I've seen the videos. I've seen the TikToks.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh yeah.
aware. Um,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
so
So
so someone comes into my office. They're explaining all this to me, and I'm like, okay, I have some problems with this already, but like, all right, sure, sure. Well, what what other thing, are you going to need to have like a food handler's license because blah, blah. It's like, oh, well, we want a liquor license. And that's when I go, whoa, 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 whoa.
you're like, this was
You,
dangerous enough, but now
you
you want to add
want,
alcohol to this?
you
This is
want people to
fish.
come into your place where they're going to throw axes, you know,
Yes.
axes, like a murder weapon.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And, but while they're doing this, you also want them to consume copious amounts of alcohol.
Yes.
Who the
And
fuck
it
said yes
works.
to that? Who the fuck said
Whatever,
yes?
this business model is working apparently
Well,
because
until like the huge lawsuit comes because it's inevitable. Someone's going to sue for the level of stupidity of serving alcohol. That'd be like, okay,
I
okay, no, no.
mean,
So that to me is the same thing as being like, hey, you know what? Um, we're gonna have this really cool racetrack where you can drive cars around, but you can also get drunk first. Like, drink all the alcohol you want, so you can be like, "Woo, boys, it's fine. There's airbags. We'll tell you you should wear a seatbelt." Like, what the hell? It's so
I don't
stupid.
know.
It's
I
so
didn't say it
stupid.
made sense, okay?
But again, who is willing to cover the liability on a place like this? Because I would laugh in your face. I'd be like,
Apparently
absolutely not.
somebody, because like you
It's
said, these
gotta be
things are
super expensive.
everywhere.
But I mean, like, I can follow them being like, after you've thrown your axes, then you can have a drink, or people who are not participating can drink. But like, axe throwers
Right.
should not be consuming
Sue
alcohol.
me.
And just, I mean, I'm sorry. We've all seen the videos of people going bowling and throwing the ball and it breaks like into the ceiling because
Yes.
they're stupid and you can tell they're a little drunk. Or, we so like a bowling ball can destroy things and it has no sharp edges.
I don't know.
Just saying. Just saying. Oh my god.
It's not gonna cut a bowling ball's not gonna cut somebody's head off.
No, no. Might give them a concussion, but it probably won't you know,
No, probably
murder
not.
them
No,
immediately.
probably not.
I just nothing against the X-Wing. I feel like I would like to try that one day.
I honestly, and
But
that was what I was gonna say, is I feel like everybody should do it at least once.
it's just
Because
the
it's
the
like when
premise
that
of it is
yeah,
so
when you
fucking
get
ridiculous.
that thing and you're like, yeah, I'm badass.
Yeah.
I just made that thing stick into the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's you can get out some unchecked aggression. You know.
Oh, nice. I do like that. I do like that.
We joked about like printing off pictures of people that we didn't like
I want to do
and
that.
putting them on the full side, trying to like throw that axe. We joked about that, which I would be behind that 100%. Like
Absolutely. I feel like you're there. Are you allowed to do that? Would anyone stop you?
I
Like
don't
in
know. I
this?
mean, if you're just pinning a piece of paper
I mean,
up
like,
to like, I
like
mean,
I'm just getting out some aggression. That's fine. I'm not
right,
planning a
right.
murder or
I don't
anything.
know. I don't. We didn't ask. We were just joking about it because we thought it was funny. But yeah, like pinning up a piece of paper with people that we don't get along with or don't
That's
like,
right.
and get out some of that unchecked aggression.
Big picture of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Or that, yes, yes.
How funny.
But yes, I don't know if you call that a judge, but I mean, I think
I,
everybody
it
should go
works
do
for
it at
me.
least once. It was fun.
Sorry.
Throwing
I'm
axes was
here.
fun.
I'm here judging whoever okayed the liability of these
There you
places.
go.
To me, it's like, what were you drinking?
Yes.
Boy,
Or smoking. I mean,
yeesh.
let's be fair.
Right? Okay. To be fair, yes. Well, that was a good
Yeah.
judge.
Yeah. Axe throwing. It's fun. Go do it.
Just not at people.
Don't do that. But I need to go buy myself an axe so I can go throw it at a zombie should that happen.
Yes. I feel like you need to maybe like tie something to it so you can pull it back. Because once
Oh
you
yeah,
throw it,
like a
then like
rope. Yes.
it's gone.
Yeah. You gotta go
You gotta go collect
retrieve
your
it.
axe. So,
Yep, that's true. Got that. That's fair. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what are you judging?
So this week I am judging. I I watched a few random videos, like TikTok style. I don't know that they were all on TikTok or whatever,
Right.
but
Yeah.
the little short videos.
Right.
One was a guy who, excuse me. One was a guy who I guess will try different foods from different places and like do the reaction on video to be like, it's really great, this is awful, or blah blah blah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he was, I don't know if he was British or Australian, not American is really the point. He was not American.
Okay. Okay.
And
Gotcha.
he finally caved and he was like, all right, I'm finally gonna do the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And he's like, I've got my piece of like white bread, and
Has
he
he
only
never
does
had one?
it's not a thing that people do outside the United States. I don't
Oh. Okay.
just
Cool.
so
Cool.
that you know that.
Okay. Well, because you did say he's not American. Okay.
Right.
Cool. All right.
And so he was like, I'm gonna just do it. He's like, I'm only gonna do a half because I think it's gonna be disgusting. Because this is disgusting. Because he's like, I love peanut butter, but you don't put. And he's like, what is jelly? It's jam. There's only jam.
Listen, sir.
Whatever. And he's like, and jam goes on scones, like, or scones or whatever. And you're like,
Yes.
dude,
Yeah.
like whatever. And like, who? Apparently, he's popular enough that people will send him stuff. So someone sent him a like mixed berry jelly,
Uh-huh.
and he had saved it for this
This.
moment. And so like he's smearing on the peanut butter, and he's like, I'm gonna put more on so I don't have to hear any of this. Well, you didn't put enough peanut butter on, because he just was like, this is gonna be disgusting. And
Uh-huh.
so then he puts the jelly on. He's like, this is
Because he's wrong, but
horrendous.
whatever.
And he's like, just like, this is gross. I'm very disgusted by this. He folds it over, and he's like, all right, here we go.
Uh-huh.
And he takes a decent sized bite. Like, he doesn't like, he's not
Right.
and he takes a bite, and he's like, ugh. And he's chewing, and he's chewing, and he's chewing. And he's swallowing it, and he's just like ripping it apart. He's like, oh. And he's like making love to the damn thing. He's like, oh, he's eating like every bite, every crust piece. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, this is the greatest thing that's ever been. And I'm like, fuck you. Yeah, it is. Peanut butter and jelly.
You're like, welcome to what the rest of us already know.
I'm like, it's not a divisive. Almost everyone loves peanut butter and jelly. Like every once in a while, you'll come across someone who's just like, not really my thing, but they're not like, in the United States, they're not hateful about it. So I'm like, why is there so much? Because it's not the first person that I've come across that is like offended by the concept of peanut butter and jelly.
Right. Yeah.
It's this such a foreign concept, especially I guess to the Brits. Is mostly where I see it, because I think it's come up on like the Great British Baking Show, maybe at some point.
Well, I mean, and they do like, like you said, like the jam, like it's always jam.
Which to me is fine. Have the peanut butter and jam is fine.
Jam, yeah. I mean, it's
care.
basically,
Like,
it is basically the same thing. Yeah.
It's like whatever.
Jelly, jam,
yes. Whatever. It's all about it. But so like I was cracking up at how he was just like, oh my fucking God. Turns out this thing that I thought was going to be disgusting was the greatest thing I've ever had. So that's one. Then I watched another video. This one I know was on TikTok. And it was these pre-college age students, like in their school uniforms. They're British.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And they were being introduced to the American biscuits and gravy, which again does not exist outside the
anywhere else. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so like first they were given biscuits, good old Southern fluffy biscuits, and to kind of look at and try. And
what do they
this
call
is like separate
biscuits
groups
over there? I wonder.
Biscuits are cookies. It's like the crunchy cookie.
I'm talking about like a biscuit, like our biscuit.
They don't have biscuits. They have scones. And in fact, so like when they were looking at this at the biscuit, they were like, it's more like a scone. A scone or whatever.
I mean, and yeah, I guess it's closer to that.
Scone, but so they don't have anything like this.
like
Doesn't exist.
like an actual like what we like
What we
a
would
good
call a
old
biscuit. It
Southern biscuit. Yeah.
does not
Okay.
exist. Um,
Okay. Yeah, I
I
knew
mean,
that
they
they
have
called biscuits or like
toast.
cookies were biscuits over there,
I mean,
but
they have like toast and they have English muffins
uh
and
huh.
all sorts of things like that. But they don't have anything that's like a Southern biscuit. And
Gotcha.
so
Okay.
these are, I think there's like 6 or 8 because they were in like groups of 2. But they're like 6 or 8 kids total, and they're again
Yeah.
they're teenage, and there is like well try the biscuit, and they're like that's not a biscuit,
Right.
and
Right.
they're
They're like no.
that looks it's more like a scone, and so they try it and they're like oh that's really good. That's
Like
really good.
just the biscuit
And
by
in
itself.
fact, like a couple of them were like, "This is even better than scones." And like, I'm sure I'm gonna
Uh
get kicked
huh.
out of my country for saying this or whatever.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, progress, good. Then they come and they dump like the sausage gravy on top of the biscuits, and
Hmm.
all of them are like,
They're
oh,
like probably like gonna vomit. Like
yes. And in fact, 2 of them were like, it looks like vomit, and then they're like, why are there chunks in it? What's so lumpy?
why are there? I will tell you. There's a friend of ours that we went to Disney World with a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and she is originally Mexican. She's from Mexico and came over, and she's married to a guy in the military.
Mm-hmm.
But when we went on this trip to Disney World, we'd stop for breakfast at Cracker Barrel, and on the way
Right.
down, and it's like
Everything comes with
ev-
biscuits and gravy.
biscuits and gravy. Yeah, and she's just like, I don't understand you Americans sometimes. She's like, here's your flour and water with your flour and water. And I'm like, the gravy is so much more than that.
It's like, but
Stop it.
it's a different ratio of flour and water.
I know, right? But
It makes
still,
all
like,
the
here's your
difference.
flour and water with some more on top of your flour and water. It was like, what? Anyway, so that's that's
Mhm.
when you're like, why is it lumpy and that kind of thing.
And
It
so like
looks like vomit.
they were so expressive. Their faces were like, oh, like the horror of it all. They're like, you want us
Right.
to eat that? Like they were like, oh, and so they're given their knives and forks. It's very, very proper.
Yes.
And so they're all just kind of like, do I have to? And
They're like, I don't want to try this at all.
in fact, one of them was like, "Is that ferret in there? It looks like ferret guts or
Very.
whatever." And I was like, "What the fuck is that? Why? What are you doing in
Ferret.
England that you're like, this
Why
is a
would that
ferret?
be your
We don't
first
have
choice
ferret."
of animal?
It was such a random thing. Like the fuck.
I know. I feel like out of all the meats that could be out there, I would choose squirrel before I choose fucking ferret.
It's like
Like
I don't.
what?
It's like do you know that the United States does not really have a lot of ferrets? It's not really super
Right?
indigenous to our area. But
Oh my gosh. Don't
cool
really go
guess.
ferret hunting. Okay.
So all horrified by it, and then they eat it, and they're like, again, oh my god, Americans are so
Right.
lucky, and I'm like, that's right, yeah, we suck in so many areas. Like, hear me. The America sucks in so many areas, super super sucks, but
Yes, indeed.
peanut butter and jelly and biscuits and gravy are 2 of the areas that we absolutely excel in. So.
It's true. Yeah.
So it was so funny, like watching them react and be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing and delicious," and I'm like,
But before they're like, this is gonna be the grossest thing I've
"Well,"
ever put in my mouth. Yeah.
and like, okay, and granted, in that one they were all teenagers, but like in the other one, like he's a grown ass adult that was
Yeah.
doing it,
Right.
and I'm like, I can't think of a time that I have just been like, "Oh, that's horrendous. I'll never try. That's so gross. I can't believe people would eat that." Without
Right.
it being something that I authentically already know I hate, like pickle slushies, that's horrendous to me. Why would anyone do that? Pickle juice as a because I
I like
hate
pickles.
pickles. I hate
I
pickles, and I
like
don't find
pickles, but
that
I would never. That there's a line and they've crossed it. I would never pickle slushy.
but,
What
like,
is that trash? It's
to
like
me, I'm
bleh.
like, that feels like something that should be divisive, but to look over like, I
Right.
don't look at England and I'm like, "Scones? Ugh, gross." I can't my brain just can't process.
Right.
Why do people think Americans have such shitty taste in food? Yeah, we have crappy
Right.
food. But, like, we also have some
Right.
really amazing food. French fries, you're welcome. Just saying.
Yes.
You're welcome. Okay, we did that. We did that. But so my judge is just the hilarity of other people assuming that our food is garbage. I'm like, it's weird, and maybe you don't have anything remotely similar in order to like wrap your head around biscuits and gravy. I mean, if you don't
Right.
have
Oh yeah.
biscuits as we understand them, then you wouldn't have any concept of biscuits and gravy. So I don't know,
That's true. Yeah.
but
That is, I mean, it is something I guess you take for granted. Like, these people don't really do PB&J and
mm-hmm,
biscuits and gravy. It's just, I feel like you said, those are staples, at least where, we're from.
mm-hmm. Well, I just was like, why do people have such strong feelings? Peanut butter is the greatest thing that ever was invented food wise. Okay, like it's
Right.
just ever.
Yes.
So, like,
Agreed.
I don't understand why you would not. I mean, peanut butter can be sweet and it can be savory, and surely
Right.
that exists in enough cultures that that you wouldn't be offended by a peanut butter
Right. Right.
jam, a peanut butter and jam sandwich.
Yes.
But the fact that he he ate it all, like he was like every bite and like getting the pieces of crust, and was like using the knife with the peanut butter on it, like to get the excess peanut butter off on the crust so that he could eat it. And I'm like, that's right.
So to
We
say, was he getting
know
ready to like
you're
roll
doing.
around on it naked or something?
Yes,
Like,
yes, yes. That is where it was headed. That's why I stopped watching. but
and you're like, and we're done. Okay, I get the gist.
but so that's my judge. Just like, I mean, yes, we suck in a lot of things, and some of our food is hot garbage. But like, give it a chance.
But there are so many things that are pretty good.
It's like, but like, give it a chance.
Right.
That's all.
Yes. Try anything once. Come on, guys.
mm-hmm. All right. So that brings us to our topic du jour. And today we have brought you stories that fall into the category of history. Not vague at all.
Nope, not vague. No vagary here.
All right, Claire, what have you brought us this week?
Oh, I'm first? Yay.
You are first.
Woo. Okay, I'm going to be talking a little about Einstein and his brain.
Ooh. His big, massive brain.
Yeah, that was not big at all. So
Interesting. Okay.
I know, right? Um got my sources from Wikipedia, bbc.com, livescience.com, and science.org.
Hmm.
So, just a little bit about Albert Einstein. I mean, everybody kind of knows who he is, but he was born on March 14th, 1879, in Ulm, Germany. So, uh, born in Germany, and he wound up being a really famous theoretical physicist. I
He
hate that word,
was?
physicist.
What? Had
I
no idea.
know.
Never heard of the
Nobody
guy.
knows
Who
who
is this?
Albert Einstein is. Yeah.
Who's this guy?
um, he most people know him, especially like this is like generic knowledge, that he's famous for the theory of relativity and his mass energy equivalence formula E equals mc squared.
Yes.
So, which has been dubbed the world's most famous equation.
Oh,
So,
Pythagoras is
I
rolling
was
over
going
in
to
his
say, get out
grave.
Pythagoras. I was literally going to be like, Pythagoras is really sad about that.
He's so fucking angry right now.
He is. He's turning over in his grave. But he was born to a secular, and I'm going to say this word is Ashkenazi
Mhm.
Jewish family. I didn't have time to really look up what that meant. But his parents'
Oh,
name
okay.
were Herman. Yeah, I'm like I was trying to find everything and it's just everything. But his parents' names were Herman and Pauline Einstein. And when he was born, he actually was in the German Empire where he was,
Okay.
but he wound up moving to Switzerland in 1895. And then at that point, he basically turned his back on his German citizenship.
Good choice, knowing what happens next.
Right.
Just
And in
fine.
1897, at the age of 17, he enrolled at the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School in Zurich, and he wound up graduating in 1900. And in 1901, he officially became a Swiss citizen.
Huh.
And in 1905, he had a PhD from the University of Zurich. 1914, he was in Berlin and he joined the Prussian Academy of Sciences and the Humboldt University of Berlin. 1917, he was director of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physics. And then he wound up becoming a German citizen again.
What
Why?
bad
Which,
timing.
well, but it was after World War One.
Well, I still argue bad timing. No one liked them then. Hence
But I
World
guess
War
he was
II.
like, well, the war's over. I'm going to be German again. But then it said that he was actually Prussian. So I guess he wasn't part of the German Empire, but he was Prussian.
And just
Is the citizen that ship that he got.
this stupid aside, random tangent. In Beauty and the Beast, the song "Human Again," to
Yes.
be human again. Now I'm hearing is to be
Yes.
German again. Now it's to be Prussian again.
I mean,
Prussian again. I don't know.
this man switched nationalities quicker than I don't know what. Anyway,
I mean, he changes nationalities more than some people change their socks.
it's true. And so this time where he's doing college and getting PhDs and all that, he winds up meeting at that polytechnic school. Her name was Maliva Merrick. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but she was the only woman in that math and physics program. There were only 6 students, and she was the only woman.
I mean, impressive. There was a woman, so
I know,
I
right? Just
mean,
even one,
just be like,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah. So they were, they became friends being in that program together. And it said that they would debate things and read things together and, you know, do physics stuff together, because they were all in physics is so far over my head. I'm just like, ugh. I read it and I feel my brain like turning to garbage. I'm just like, it's gonna start running out my nose or something. But he stated in letters that he preferred studying and researching things with her. So it's like, oh, they're
Study
friends and they're gonna,
dates. Oh.
yeah, right. But there were other letters that revealed that they were romantically involved before they were married and they had a daughter in
Ooh.
1902. And they said there's don't really know what happened to her. It was either she was adopted, put up for adoption and adopted, or that
Okay.
she died in infancy
Mhm.
of scarlet fever.
Which common, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah. But while he was like, well, I will say that he got married in 1903. But while he was like doing things with this woman, that he's like, oh, I love you, I'm getting married. There were letters that were saying that he was like, I don't know if it was physical, but it was an emotional affair with another woman named Marie Wintler.
Hmm.
This always like, here I'm getting married and my wife is pregnant. And then it's like, but I'm going to be writing smexy love letters to you. I don't know. But he and his wife, Maliva, they had a son in 1904 who his name was Hans. And then in 1910, they had another son named Edward. But, you know, they got divorced on February 14th, 1949,
Happy
which I'm like, how
Valentine's Day. Got it.
apropos. Yeah, I know. But it said that what would get divorced, they were separated for like 5 years
Oh.
before they actually got divorced. And so in that time, it was like all of a sudden it's like, oh, he loves his cousin.
Ew.
So there was, yeah, that he was truly attracted to his cousin, Elsa Lowenthal. And so he winds up getting divorced from Maliva, his first wife. But in the divorce settlement, it said he had to give her any future Nobel Prize money that he might win.
What? That's
Yes.
hilarious. It's like, oh hey,
So I mean, she's the mother of his children.
any future
Gotta support them.
Nobel Prize money. I love that it's specific Nobel Prize.
Right. Right.
Like,
Nobel Prize
all
money.
right,
Yep.
whatever. Sure, sure.
And then let's see, in 1919, he married Elsa, and they wound up coming to America in 1933. And while they were here in 1933, Hitler came into power over in Germany. And so, Einstein's Jewish.
And he was like, maybe I'll not go back.
Yeah, yeah, he was just
Regretting
like,
becoming a German citizen again, aren't
right, yes, yeah, right. So, he obviously did not agree with Hitler's new policies
ya?
for the Nazi government.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Fair.
um, yeah. So he remained in the US. He was just like, we're going to stay over here and play it safe. And he became a US citizen in 1940, which I'm just like,
Okay.
wow. Like I said, man gets around in more ways than one. I mean, so then, like, while he's married to Elsa, that there was a lady that was a secretary of a friend, Betty Newman, and then there were letters that listed six other women that he was like messing around with.
When did he have time to do like physics? He's too busy doing
I know, right? But
physical.
then Elsa dies.
Hmm.
She has a heart and kidney issues, and she winds up dying in 1936. But also, like, besides these six women listed in those letters, it said that he was also connected to a Russian spy,
Sure.
yeah, I know, Margarita Konenkova, and apparently she was married to a Russian sculptor. So
Okay.
I'm
I
like,
mean, but
man,
when you're a spy, you get to do anything. It's
I
get
know.
out of jail free
I think
card.
that's what blew my mind. I was like, you're a good God. Like you said, where did you find time to figure out all these physics problems? Like,
Well, I
I
mean,
don't understand.
I'm just like, especially like it's one thing to have like a relationship and maybe you have like an extra relationship, but like it seems like a lot of women to juggle while also trying to solve the mysteries of the universe.
Right. Well, and it said that one of his earliest things that he worked on, the, there's two sides of it. One side is like, oh yeah, this happened, and the other side's like, no, that wasn't it at all. Like, there's the camp that believes that his first wife, because they did so much, physics research and stuff like that together, that she was the one who actually was like involved with one of his first papers that he wrote, and that she actually helped him, and that he didn't do it all by himself.
well,
But then there's the
but
other people who are like, no, he did it all by himself. And I'm
well,
just
but
like,
if they
what?
were together, like I mean, I can't imagine being in the same field as my spouse and not being like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Let me
Right,
run this by you. What are your thoughts?
right. Well, and not only that, it's like, if she did help,
Well,
because
and
her name, I think that's the
yeah.
whole thing, is her name wasn't on it,
Well, but
and I'm like,
she's a
women
woman,
don't matter.
so
Right.
like it probably would have been a decision between them to be like, we know you did this, but with your name on it, people will take it less seriously.
And that's fair as well. So there was that little bit of like
Mm-hmm.
controversy. Like, did she not? That
Will
kind of
she?
thing.
Won't she? Mm-hmm.
Right. So while he's
Like,
also juggling all these women, he eventually writes a letter where he alerts then President FDR
mm-hmm.
of the German nuke weapons program. And so he's like, hey, they got this. Maybe you should, like, start studying this nuclear thing. So,
Hey, you want to
yeah.
start a nuclear war? That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
So, yeah. So he asked the US president, like, hey, Germany's doing this thing. Y'all should probably look into it. It's like,
Hey, just letting you know.
right.
Wow.
But it said that in general, he denounced the idea of nuclear weapons.
Hmm.
So they
Well,
were not like something that he pushed for, which I get it. Like, if
yeah.
he really defected from Germany and did not want them to win World War II. Yeah, I can understand why he would alert somebody and be like, "Hey, they're working on this thing that looks like it could be devastating.
Yeah.
Maybe
Like,
you should look into this as well."
well, and he probably was already moving ahead to mutually assured destruction to be like, well, if the United States makes one too, then maybe we can keep from doing it because they're
Right.
bad and I don't want it. I don't know. I don't know. I may be
Right.
giving him too much credit. He
So,
he really is a man whore, so maybe I should just be like, you need
I
to sit down.
mean, right? Shoo. I was like, "Good lord." But I mean, he is Einstein. Everybody's like, how can
Well,
you handle,
yeah.
how can you handle two women if you can't handle one, or something like that? It's
I
like,
argue that intellectual capability does not mean you can handle women better. Just putting it out there. Lots of smart guys are assholes. I feel like Einstein would be a cool guy to have tea with. Maybe like a short-term fling, a one-night stand, but then you got to move on cuz like,
right,
nah. Nah, man.
right, seriously. So, and he did a whole bunch of stuff in his life and career that makes my head hurt when I try to read it. So,
Right.
yeah. So eventually, Einstein passes away,
It does
and he
eventually,
died
yes.
on
Yes, he
April.
was not immortal.
No, he was not. But he passed away on April 17th, 1955,
Okay.
and he died from internal bleeding caused by the rupture of an abdominal aortic aneurysm.
Oh, I did not know
So it's like
that.
a thing in your stomach. It's
Mhm.
basically you're bleeding internally.
Yeah. Wow. That's a rough
Yeah,
way to go.
right. And he was 76 years old. So I mean, he lived a pretty good long life. And
Uh,
look at all the stuff he did.
how much more could he
I
have
mean,
done?
he's probably one of the reasons we won World War II. So
Maybe helped out a little bit.
just a smidge. It was really the Night Witches. We know
We
this.
know it was the Night Witches. It's true. It was the Night Witches.
So, he had in his will that basically he wanted his body cremated. He wanted it scattered at an undisclosed location because he didn't want
People
people
coming to
like
collect
turn.
his ashes.
Well, not yes, collecting his ashes or turning it into like this, you know, altar or whatever to him. It was just
Hmm.
I just kind of want to go quietly into the night.
Well,
I've
that's
lived my
impressive
life.
because tables turned. I'd be like, no, no, no. I want
I want you to
everyone to
erect a
like,
monument.
right? I want you to be like praying to me and hoping that I will divinely intervene on your behalf. I mean, just saying. I'm just saying. That's all. Come leave all
Basically.
of your little tchotchkes at my grave. I need that. I need that. That's all.
That's all.
That's all. I'm here
So
for
yeah,
that.
he just wanted, simple cremation. He didn't even want a service. He was like, do nothing, just cremate me, put me somewhere, but don't tell anybody where you dump my ashes. It's fine. So those were his wishes.
Mm-hmm.
However, he was at the Princeton University Hospital, and the Princeton Hospital pathologist, Dr. Thomas Harvey, was doing the autopsy. Um, he did everything like he was supposed to, except he removed Einstein's brain and kept it for himself
That's
without
really awful.
without without Einstein's permission or Einstein's
He
family's
was just
permission.
like, fuck them. I want this brain, so I'm taking it. Damn, that's
And
like,
I'm like, this is giving me like some like
like,
young Frankenstein vibes,
well,
just saying,
yes,
but
yes.
also like not in a good way. It's like
Abby, someone.
normal. Yes, Abby.
uh,
Oh, but yeah, he stole Einstein's brain.
so like, maybe you're about to tell me, but how do we know he stole Einstein's brain and he's just not claiming he has Einstein's brain?
Now that I don't know.
And also, did he claim it or did it just come up? Like, was he like, guess what I did, everybody?
I'm assuming he claimed it
Because, I
because
mean, isn't that a crime?
apparently not back then, because it said that after the family realized what had been done, like the brain was stolen, that, obviously his son, Hans, was livid. Just like,
Fair.
I mean, yeah, fair. But I guess he and Dr. Harvey, it's just that Dr. Harvey convinced him to let Hans, let Harvey keep this brain.
How did That's an impressive argument. I need to know what that conversation was because
And
I'm
there's
not
nothing like it, that's
sure.
all any of the things say is he convinced Hans to let him keep Einstein's brain for research. I mean, I guess that was what he told him this was his purpose, like what he wanted to like, study the brain and all that.
But
So,
like, dude, you could have like asked first.
right? Who would have thought the whole
I'm just trying to figure out
like
how I, in a
like
fit
better to
of
ask for
anger,
forgiveness?
I
Yes.
guess, but like,
Better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Like, oh, I already did it, so
oh
I've got it.
hey,
I mean,
sorry, I stole your dad's brain, but I needed it for research, and so I just
right.
did it.
Yes.
You're just gonna have to accept that. And in fact, I need you to go ahead and sign this form right here that says you already are fine with it.
Right. But yeah, it was just it. He talked Hans and let him keep it. That's basically what all of them say. Like I'm like, but
Okay.
why? Anyways, so it says he measured and photographed the brain, and he even had a painting commissioned
Of the brain?
of the brain.
Ew. Ew.
You would be that person, like, oh wait,
You'd
I'm
be
getting
like,
paid to do what?
it's like you want me to paint what now?
Yes, it's like ew.
Okay.
So
Sure.
yeah, so this is what he does after he does all that, and he has the photographs and all that jazz. He divides Einstein's brain into 240 blocks.
That's oddly specific. Okay.
Yes, and it said that he created 12 sets of 200 slides with tissue samples.
Okay.
And
Uh-huh.
so he wound up taking these slides and these pieces he was driving them all around the country, giving them to like hand delivering them to researchers so they could
Hey, I brought
study.
you a doggy bag.
Yeah, and it's like he delivered them to the best doctors in neuropathology in the 1950s.
Hey, here's some pieces of Einstein's brain.
That I'm driving around with in my trunk.
Right? Like,
Like, what?
do you have enough?
I just, the whole thing is so wild. It's like,
I'm
wait, hold
guessing
on.
it's in like formaldehyde or something, but
It's in
also,
jars. Yeah, like like the jars.
jars like the
That
mad
you,
scientist I am. Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah, of
exact.
course.
Like Abby Normal.
Abby
Yes,
normal.
yes, that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. Yep, just driving around with that in my trunk. But it said that when he weighed the brain, that it was actually at the lower end of the like average spectrum for men of Einstein's
Because
age.
I have a small head, so I have a small brain. All right. I'm here
But
for it.
he wasn't. It wasn't like, oh, it's Einstein. His brain was huge. You
Yeah.
know, I know a lot of people are like common misconception. You think you're like, oh, it's Einstein. He had a giant brain. But at the time, the consensus of the doctors who replied to Harvey
Mm-hmm.
back in the 50s was that there wasn't anything extraordinary, and it seemed to be no different than normal non-genius brains. So
Gee,
at the time, yeah.
I'm so glad that we went to all the effort of stealing it out of his corpse and cutting
Right.
it into cubes and hand
I
delivering
feel
it to
like that
doctors
is
around the country to
I
be
feel
like,
like that is abuse of a corpse, right? I mean,
minimum. Minimum. I'm pretty
right?
sure it's theft somehow. There's got to be some thievery there,
Right.
right?
Something. Yeah. But it said that, even after he got back some of those replies from these people, that he continued to travel across the US with brain samples to give out
As
for
one does.
research. Can you imagine? I'm just stopping off at this doc. Here, have a piece of Einstein's brain if you want to. I mean, like, what?
It's like the worst Uber Eats delivery
I
ever.
know. Like, what? It's like, oh, jeez,
I'm
man.
just picturing his, the But I'm just picturing that he's got like a little jar with little brain cubes in it.
Yes.
And it's in a little paper bag. And he's just like,
Yes.
delivery. Knock, knock.
Oh my god, yes. That's probably exactly what it was.
And then like the person opens the bag like, the fuck is this? It's like, it's Einstein's brain. And like,
oh my god.
I mean, I guess the 1950s, but like, surely most of those doctors are like, the fuck it is? What the fuck is this? You can't come and be like, I have Einstein's brain. I don't believe you.
I know. It is like you read it, you're just like, this is wild. How did this is crazy.
Okay.
But
it's gonna be in my head forever, little doggy bags of Einstein's brain. What
yeah.
stupid
But it said that he kept the majority of the pieces in his own possession. So he's just hanging on to pieces of Einstein's brain.
Oh my goodness.
But it said at one point when he had the brain in his possession that the military tried to take the brain from Dr. Harvey because the Russians at the time apparently were starting their own brain collection.
Oh god. Wait.
Collecting brains from smart people, I'm assuming.
So when is this? 1950s? Is that what you're telling me?
Probably, yeah.
So like,
because it's Cold War, yeah. Well, it was
so during the space race, like the earliest space race,
he had the brains for like 20 years.
Right. Oh, okay.
People forgot about it. So like after he died, he just kept these pieces of like at least 20 years before anybody realized he still had it. So it's probably 60s latest. I would guess.
You're telling me that while we are racing Russia to the moon, we are also racing Russia and collecting brains?
Apparently. Because we're all just zombies on the inside.
Oh my god. Now I need to know where, in what secret bunker hangar do they have the collection of smart people brains that they have in jars that were literally in Young Frankenstein?
I know.
Okay. All right.
Oh, do they have an Igor that leads people down to the brain?
This way.
No. Oh my god. Anyway.
Okay, this got so bizarre.
Why is there always something batshit crazy to do with the military? It's always they're such liars.
I feel like they just
what is this?
You know that there's gotta be like the room. There's the room that like the 4 or 5 people they go to, and then they talk to each other, and they come up with batshit crazy ideas like, we should be collecting the brains of the smart people. We'll put them in jars, and then we'll put them on our shelves, and we'll look at them.
Shit, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. All right.
I mean, it's
whatever.
Fair,
Why not? Why not?
But apparently, him taking the brain caused him some problems.
Good.
As you might imagine. Said his life basically kind of imploded. That he lost his job.
He steals body parts, and he brought home a brain. I'd divorce you too. Like,
I mean, yeah,
you stole someone's brain.
I don't really want these pieces of brain just in my armoire.
Why is there a brain in my fridge again? We talked about this,
right? But since he lost his job, his marriage, and any kind of furthering career at Princeton, the hospital.
I mean, I'm just not feeling super sad for him right now, but I'm sure that sucked for him. But also, I'm like, dude, you stole Einstein's brain.
But he also kept, he kept the remaining jars for like 40 plus years.
Sure. Well, I mean,
could you
imagine? What are you gonna do? I mean, you gambled everything away.
Just hanging on to this for 43, I think it was 43 years or something like that.
Okay. And then what happened?
Talk about like a hoarder.
Where's the brain now? That's what I need to know. Is it gone?
Well, I'm
still
getting
have
to
pieces.
That.
Can I, for 4 easy payments of $99.95, can I get my own piece of Einstein's
plus shipping
brain?
and handling? Oh my god.
This story has turned into gold, is all I can tell you.
And I thought it'd be like, I don't know, this story's kind of meh.
It has everything. Grave robbing,
It's
brain,
crazy.
obsessive guy who carries brains around other people.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
Oh
Okay,
crap.
sorry. I'm back. We can do
No,
this.
okay.
Mm.
But let's see. Where was I? Yeah, he kept the remaining jars with the brains in his house for more than 40 years and finally returned them to the University Medical Center of Princeton in 1998. I think that was basically like he was dying, and so
I'm
he
gonna
just
die
gave
now,
them back.
so I'm gonna give these back to you, even though you don't really own them either, as we were supposed
But it was
to.
just like that was the hospital
Okay.
where Einstein died. So it was like, oh, I'm going to give them back to the hospital that I stole them
Can you
from.
imagine
But
opening that box? Hey, what came in the
right,
FedEx delivery today? Like, what the hell?
right.
Oh my god.
I
Poor
know.
Einstein. Poor Einstein's
Right.
brain.
All he wanted,
He's like,
just
I just
burn
wanted
my body,
to just
scatter it somewhere. I don't even care where you scatter it.
Lord.
It's like, why does nobody listen? But studies, more recent studies,
mm-hmm.
they had studies like in the 80s, one in the 90s, and I think another one in like 2013.
Mm-hmm.
But looking more pieces, of his brain. And I think you have to like really like what is the word? Apply. You have to apply to or ask
You have to
permission to
ask
come
for a
see
piece
his
of his
brain.
brain. Got it.
To like go see his brain though. Like it's like not something that's like, oh, we're gonna display it for Joe Schmo to
They
come
really
see.
should. They should put it in a display case. Just
I
just
know.
like a random cube of it, because it's in cubes. So
Yes.
why not?
Just one cube. Come on.
One. Share one cube with the world.
Yes. But the more recent studies found minor differences. Apparently there is an extra groove in his frontal lobe.
Hmm.
Most normal people have 3. He has 4.
Oh.
Yeah. And this is the section that deals with your memory and planning.
Okay.
So he had an extra groove there. He had a greater concentration of neurons in certain areas, which would lead to faster info processing.
Hmm. Okay. Sure.
And then he had larger parietal lobes. Like there were certain spots that were bigger that one was let's see, what is that? Yeah, it says they were wider, spots were wider and better integrated, which I don't know. Integrated makes it sound like he's a computer, but whatever.
Well, he is. We're all robots.
Kind of. But these areas deal with your spatial cognition and your thought, mathematics thought,
So he was genetically designed to be a world famous physicist.
apparently.
Cool.
But on top of that, said there were bundles of fibers that connect the left and the right hemispheres of the brain, and his was thicker. His bundle of fibers connecting the two halves was thicker than any of the ones in the control group. And that leads to enhanced cooperation between your brain's hemispheres.
Oh, fancy.
So they were like, so they were just small enough.
Although I feel
Wasn't like a big deal.
well, I feel
But
like here's where I'm getting confused. I thought his brain was cut into cubes. Did they like reassemble it? Like, how were they able to do all
well,
this?
because of the photographs the guy took.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yes.
that's fine. That's
Like I think it was one of the like there are multiple photographs and from all angles. And I think he even did one where he cut it in half and like took a picture of each side.
I'm
You
so
know.
excited for the people watching this on YouTube, because they're gonna be seeing pictures of his brain throughout the whole episode.
I mean, pretty much.
Here's some more brain. Okay.
Yes.
Congratulations, guys.
Here's his brain in a jar. Here's his brain in a slide,
Here's his brain being hand delivered in a paper bag. It's fine.
It's yeah, I mean,
Normal.
right.
It's normal.
But it said that many people who had the pieces of the brain returned them. However, There are still a portion that have never been recovered. And
Ooh,
so there is an unknown number of samples that are still just floating out there in the ether.
secret Einstein. So now it's time to go out to like all the storage wars things. You never know whose storage
Start
thing
buying up
has,
all the storage units, baby.
because Einstein's brain cube might be in one.
It's true. It's true.
Oh my god, that's amazing, and I love that.
So yeah, that is my story about Einstein and the drama that his brain caused.
That's amazing. What a ridiculous story. Ah.
It's pretty ridiculous. Mostly because I left out all of the math stuff.
Yes, and thank you. We thank you.
I hit the highlights of his life. It's fine. But anyway, that's my Einstein brain story.
Amazing. That was a good time. I enjoyed that.
I
I
know,
enjoyed that a
like,
lot. Yeah.
alrighty, so what story are you talking about with history?
Well, I bring you a much less entertaining story,
I'm
and I
sure
feel bad
not.
about it now. I am bringing to you the story of Edgar Allan Poe and his
Yes.
final days.
Yes.
Okay, so I got almost all of my information from this book that I just read called Mystery of Mysteries: The Death and Life of Edgar Allan Poe
Nice.
by Mark Dawidziak. It's quite a name.
Dawidziak.
Dawidziak. I
Okay.
also got a little bit from Wikipedia, just to
Okay.
quick dates and things and everything. I don't freaking
Mm-hmm.
so you don't know Edgar Allan Poe, because I didn't know Edgar Allan Poe until I read this book and
No.
was like, well, fuck me. So we know him as the king of the macabre, I guess,
Yes.
but there's a lot of fun things about him. So he was born January 19th of 1809. Although sometimes, let's see, in one of his autobiographical works, he claimed
Mm-hmm.
that he was born in 1811, so he's trying to shave some years off, I guess. Very
So
very
what
Hollywood.
year was he really born? We
1809.
know?
Mm-hmm.
1809. But he says that he was 1811.
Yes.
Okay.
He likes to change his age a lot. It's like Einstein changing citizenship.
His women. Yeah. They were his women.
Mm-hmm.
I
Or his women.
mean, citizenship or women. It's like,
So Edgar was born to David and Elizabeth Poe, who were both actors. He was the second child and second son. But things weren't super great in his home life. His daddy had a bit of a temper and
mm-hmm.
didn't like that his wife Eliza / Elizabeth, she was really well regarded in the acting community. She was exceptional, got lots of accolades and lots of big roles, and he didn't like that because he was, yeah, but butthurt that waifu was better than him at things.
Uh-huh.
But
Yep.
he ended up,
A little jealous. I see. I
yes,
see.
yes. But to be fair, she had grown up in the acting world. Both of her parents had also been actors. They had died long before. Uh, and
Okay.
and David had not. He grew up in, I think it was a farming family.
Okay.
But anyway, so David had a temper, and eventually he ends up leaving his family sometime around the birth of their third child, who was a daughter. Um, at the time, Edgar was maybe like 2.
Okay.
And then both David and Eliza died within months of each other from tuberculosis, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
that was the
well,
hot thing to die from back in the
it's
day.
fair. In fact, they were like, it's consumption. Like, whatever.
Consumption.
And there were not a lot of family. Like I said, Eliza's parents were already dead.
Yeah.
Um, Edgar's older brother went to live with his paternal grandparents because they were still alive.
Mm-hmm.
But they were not super well off, couldn't take all three children. The sister went to live with a local family who adopted her because she was just baby, really.
Yeah.
And then Edgar was, quote unquote, fostered
Uh-huh.
by another local couple, John and Frances Allen, who had him baptized and in the baptismal ceremony named themselves as godparents.
Okay.
Whatever. I
Just like, oh, we're gonna take care of you now. Okay, cool.
Now Frances slash Franny really
Mm-hmm.
doted on little Edgar, loved him unconditionally, thought he was great and amazing, but she also couldn't have kids, so like this
Ah,
was
okay.
a kid for her. Uh, but her husband, John, was less excited about it. You get the sense that maybe he was cajoled into taking in Edgar by Franny. And so
Yeah.
his moods about Edgar swung pretty wildly. So while
Gotcha.
Edgar was
Okay.
incredibly gifted, learned languages like that, like super fast, it was amazing, and did really well in schools and things like that, and, performed little short poems and things for
Oh yeah.
guests, like little cute
Yeah.
things. And so while John liked that and encouraged that and would brag about that, he also held some kind of animosity for Edgar because John
So he's jealous
too,
of a child.
well, kind of. So John too had been an orphan, like his parents had died, and he was originally from Scotland, I think, and ultimately immigrated to America and did really well for himself.
Mm-hmm.
But he'd had a little bit of help along the way as well, but had kind of forgotten that and thought, he was kind of a I did it on my own. He shouldn't need all this help or whatever. And it's like you're sending him to
Ah, okay.
school. Calm down.
Yeah, it's like,
You're not
no, it's
really
not
doing
that
all
big a
right.
deal.
So like they had a tumultuous relationship. But during that time, Edgar and that's where Allan comes from, the Edgar Allan Poe.
Ellen.
It's
Mm-hmm.
from his now I guess godparents because they never formally adopted him, even though I'm sure Franny wanted to because she was obsessed. But like they went to schools in good schools here in the United States. They moved to England for a brief period of time, and he went to school there. And then they came back. Whole long story that no one cares about. Um, Eventually, he went to college, and John would not provide enough money for him to actually be able to go and buy all the stuff he needed. Even though
Mm.
John could. John, by the way, fucking wealthy, bought a plantation. This was when the merchant class was taken over from the planter class, and you're like, yeah. Um, and so like they had a big fight or whatever, and Edgar was like, fuck this shit, and left. And he ended up
Mm-hmm.
joining the army in 1827 because he couldn't support himself financially. And in order to do that, he claimed he was 22 and he was actually 18. So,
So
like,
he does change his. Okay, I
he
see what
changes
you
his
mean,
age
but
whenever he needs to, whatever works for him. Uh, Eventually, he went to West Point and graduated, but he purposely got himself court-martialed just so that he could leave because he didn't want to do it anymore. And I'm like, all right, I feel that.
you're like, it's fair.
So when he got himself court-martialed, he was tried for gross neglect of duty and disobedience of orders for refusing to attend formations, classes, or church. He tacitly pleaded
Okay.
not guilty to induce dismissal, knowing that he would be found guilty and that he would be asked to leave. So I'm like, all right, I'm
Well,
here for you. I'm here for you, Edgar.
cool. He's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I should be able to leave.
He then, in 1836, he married Virginia Clem, who was his 13-year-old cousin, and it's very disturbing. Don't think about it.
Oh, what is this with people and cousins? Stop
Eh,
it.
it was not his first love. He was in love with another girl before, but adults were adulting, and they're like, "No, he's not good enough for you," and
Oh,
broke it all
those,
off.
yeah.
But whatever.
Harshing people's mellows and
Mm-hmm.
shit.
She, of course, about I guess like 11 years later, 1847, she died of consumption.
Nah,
Tuberculosis takes them all. That's really
I know.
if it's before 1900, you're like, and it
And
was consumption.
you're like, just take him to that little tuberculosis hospital in Mammoth Cave. It'll
Right?
be fine. It's fine.
It's not haunted. No one died here. Ooh.
Nope, nope, nope.
So again, most of us know Edgar Allan Poe for his macabre short stories and mostly The Raven. Let's be real.
Yes.
But he was also he was very well known as a literary critic. He was really in the literary world in a way that we don't fully appreciate.
Okay.
Like he was like a publisher and an editor, and he did all these things, blah blah. But he also is considered the inventor of detective fiction. So thank you, kind sir.
Interesting. I don't think I knew that.
Yep. Auguste Dupin was his detective character that
Okay.
I guess he was really kind of the first one to do that. So interesting. But
That's
as
cool.
cool as his life is, his death is far more interesting. So there is a lot of mystery surrounding his final days because he kind of was just found on a street, and
hmm
people are like, what the fuck is happening? Because he was
He's just like
fine, and then
dead.
suddenly he's like
Then he's
dying.
not.
He died October 7th, 1849. He was only 40 years old, so that's heartbreaking. And so he died on October 7th. His last known sighting. So he was seen in Richmond, Virginia on September the 26th. And he was found October the 3rd in Baltimore. Like, the fuck is that? And that's like, he was delirious. They took him to a hospital and he died there 4 days later. So
Okay.
no one quite knows what in the world was happening. It's also very interesting. So in the hours before or as he was dying, he kept calling out for someone called Reynolds.
Reynolds.
But like he doesn't know anyone named Reynolds. No one came forward.
Nobody.
No one
They're
knows
like, I don't
anything.
know what this
Like all the
means.
people have been
Yeah.
like, "Who's Reynolds?"
Yeah. Like what?
Here's
I don't
Reynolds.
understand.
Some of the thoughts about the cause of his death is that, the words back then were like congestion of the brain. He's got the brain fever, and you're like, all right, whatever.
Oh, Lord. How did humanity ever survive?
And at least one witness claims that his last words were, "Lord, help my poor soul."
Okay.
But we're going to go back a few months because we want to talk about this weird, like, what's going on. So we're going to go to early July 1849, so just a few months before his death. Poe turns up very unexpectedly on July 2nd at his friend John Sartain's place in Philadelphia. Now, John Sartain is an artist who ended up being very popular, famous for an engraving style or something that he did. Doesn't really matter. But he talked about this was one of the last times he was really around Poe, and he talked about this because it was a very unsettling experience because he just shows up unexpected. He's clearly troubled. He's very edgy. He's super nervous. And he starts telling Sartain that he left Brooklyn, New York, 3 days prior and had been on a train. And while he was on the train, he overheard a group of men, like just a few seats away, plotting to kill him. They were going to kill him, and then they were going to toss his body from the platform. And Sartain is like, "The fuck are you talking about?" And it was like
What?
pushing,
Yeah,
like,
he's like,
what?
excuse me?
And he was like, "What? Why? Why would they want to kill you?" And Poe was like, "It's some kind of a revenge plot over a woman."
A revenge plot
Mm-hmm.
over a woman?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right. And so Sartain is like, "Okay, well, what happened?" And Poe says he was able to give them the slip and made his way to Philadelphia because he knew that Sartain would help him. And Sartain was like, okay, pretty confident that it was some kind of a hallucination or a delusion.
Uh-huh.
And he was like really concerned about his friend, but stayed with him and made Poe stay with him. Like he was bizarre for a couple of days. There's like this whole weird story about how they go for a walk at night, and then
Uh-huh.
Poe ends up wanting to walk up onto like this high bridge, and Sartain is thinking he's gonna kill himself, and it's this whole big thing,
Like,
and you're
uh-oh.
like, what? And you're like, holy crap. Fascinating, but not gonna get into all of that. Um, but so over those next couple of days, Poe is recounting other things from like that had been happening to him to Sartain, and
Yeah.
it was likely weird combinations of these vivid hallucinations that he was happening with actual hazy memories. Like he had some weird
Mm-hmm.
belief that this like person of light came to him while he was in a prison cell, like, and it was like this gothic prison cell. Like he had been in a prison cell for normal stupidity crap. But like he
Normal
was he
stupidity
was like
crap.
taking that memory of being in a prison cell and like adding this hallucination to it. It was really bizarre. But while he was staying with Sartain, Poe ends up writing a letter to his mother-in-law, he's still very close to at this point, um, saying that he was recovering from cholera, which is, I mean, again, another thing super common,
Right.
happening all over the
Right.
place. And in fact, not too many years ago, they took a piece of Poe's hair because when he died, some people took clippings of it because that was normal.
It's like, I want a piece.
It's weird. But from that, they were able to tell that they did contain mercury, so which was the treatment for
Okay.
cholera. And so they're like, well, maybe he did have cholera, or maybe just because there was a pandemic, they were giving it
Uh-huh.
to him as like a preventative thing, like vaccines before there were
Yeah.
vaccines. So I don't know. But anyway, so by July 10th, he seemed to have recovered and starts telling Sartain that all of it had been induced by alcohol. Now, one of
Okay.
the stereotypes of Poe is that he was this, kind of mad drunk,
Uh-huh.
and he apparently had like the lowest threshold known to man. Like he could just drink like a glass of wine and he would
And like
be
really
a super
Winston.
drunk asshole. Like, and it took him forever to recover. Like it was such a strange, lots of people talked about
Right.
it, like that knew him. It came up a lot in stories. And you're like, whoa, like he really should not have ever been drinking at all. It was
No.
bad.
Like
Like
ever.
ever, ever. So that was July 10th. But then 3 days later, um, he he shows up in another place, missing one of his shoes, looked homeless, and had to get a bunch of friends to give him money to get back to Richmond. So, like, he left Sartain's, and then fuck happens. You don't know. He shows up 3 days later somewhere else,
Somewhere else, and you're
missing a
like,
shoe, and you're like, so, like, a group of them took up some money. One of the friends took him home, bought him a train ticket that would take him to Baltimore, because at this point he's in Philadelphia. Take him to Baltimore where he could take a ship to get back to Richmond, Virginia, which is where he was trying to go.
yes.
So he does eventually make it to Richmond, and while he's there, he proposes to Elmira Shelton, who is a very wealthy widow. But she needed time to consider the proposal because she was She was a widow, but as part of the agreement, if she remarried, she would lose 3/4 of the estate that she had received, the inheritance or whatever.
Okay.
And she
I
wanted
mean,
to
that's
make
fair.
sure that all of her children were cared for, everything was fine before she agreed to anything. Whatever. And so, like, she didn't give an immediate answer. But also, while he was in Richmond, he had another couple of incidents with drinking where things got bad. And one of his doctor friends finally was like, "You're going to die. Drinking is going to kill you."
You're like, you need to stop immediately.
Yeah, I mean, like, cause it was such a bizarre. Everything was bad. It went immediately bad. Like 2 sips and he's out. And so Poe finally agreed that he like told him like how hard it was, to not drink, but that he understood that he
Right.
was going to really dry out, and actually joined a temperance league in August. So like he was committed.
Temperance
He was
League.
committed to letting it go. And
Gotcha.
by the time we get to September, Poe seemed to be doing okay again. Um, People were talking about his maybe engagement to Elmira. He did 2 lectures that were very well received, very popular, and popular with the right people, because that matters.
Right. Yes. Oh,
And
absolutely.
so he decides to head to New York to go to a meeting with another magazine. Um, and so on September 26th, he stops off at the Southern Literary Messenger uh, in Richmond, and he drops off his manuscript for Annabelle Lee.
Aha. I like that
Me
one.
too. He received $5 for that, and the editor that he was talking to told him, or was talking to him, and Poe, about his trip. He's going to New York, and Poe
Mhm.
says that he's going to stop off in Philadelphia because he had agreed to help edit a woman's poetry, and he was going to earn $100 for that. And that's a shit ton of money.
For helping her edit
Yeah,
a
to edit
poem
her book of poetry or whatever she was
or
working on.
okay, yeah.
And
Okay.
so, cool, cool. But later that evening, he checks in with Elmira, and she said that that evening Poe seemed very sad, was complaining of being sick, and seemed very feverish, and that Elmira just assumed that he wouldn't be able to do his trip the next day. He'd have to postpone. But the next day, when she went to go check on him, he had already left.
Okay. What?
So,
Like,
okay, that's weird. But then he also stopped by a doctor friend of his house later in that evening, and he stayed there till like midnight, and made no mention of feeling ill, seemed to be in good spirits. So who the fuck knows what's really happening?
yeah, it's all very bizarre.
Well, and it's
Like,
that's actually kind of like the theme of this whole book, is like all of these different
things are
like
so weird.
memoirs of people remembering Poe or interactions they had, and how conflicting they are. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What's even real? So now we get to September 27th to October 3rd, and no one has any idea the fuck was happening. No witnesses ever came forward, and
And nobody ever saw him during this,
no,
like, stretch of days.
and Mrs. Loud, who was the woman whose poetry that he was supposed to go edit,
Mhm.
said that he never turned up.
Okay.
So the assumption is that he takes the boat or train, or I think it was boat, takes the boat from Richmond to Baltimore, and he gets to Baltimore most likely on the 28th.
Mhm.
He was later found in Baltimore, October 3rd. And so he was found semi conscious, stretched on a broad plank across barrels on the sidewalk. He was
Wow.
he was cogent enough to identify himself to a gentleman who came to be like, you okay?
Yeah.
To be able to say he was Edgar Poe, and that he had a local friend and gave the name Dr. Joseph Snodgrass. And so the gentleman went to
Okay.
fetch Snodgrass to be like, "Hey, your friend is not okay."
Right. Like, I need your help,
And
sir.
so when Snodgrass gets to Poe, he finds Poe is wearing this cheap, shabby, ill-fitting suit that's not his. He was found in clothes that weren't his clothes
Mm,
in a city that he wasn't supposed to be in, supposed to be on a train.
right.
And it was one of those like the fuck? Um what's happening? So they after some back and forth with Snodgrass, they end up taking him to the hospital. Um he is in and out of delirium. He's very feverish and sick, and there are like the doctor who tended him claims that Poe knew he was going to die or whatever. They had conversations back and forth, but it's really hard to
Right.
under to just. I can't imagine him being super cogent because he could never answer any questions about what had happened to him or where he'd been. He just
Once they found him, yeah. Like it
so
was
I don't know how aware he was for any of it at the end,
uh-huh.
but there are some bizarre theories about what may
Oh,
have
I have
happened
no
to him.
doubt.
So like one of the most basic ones is that he drank something and he got drunk and carried into the bender because it would stay with him for a long time, and that it really did
Right.
kill him. That perhaps on the boat he drank, and when he got off the boat he went to drink some more, and that it just escalated into whatever. But it doesn't really
Yeah.
explain like where like he lost his valise, like he didn't have his luggage, he was wearing clothes that
Right.
weren't his clothes, and he's in some weird part of town that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yes.
But one of
I mean, yeah, it's like
yeah,
that, I mean, I feel like that's probably like you said the most common because I've heard that one
but
obviously.
one of the best reasons that he was the in to explain this situation essentially is that he may have been cooped. Have you ever heard of that?
Coop,
Cooped.
like Cooped?
Yep,
Is that what coop?
cooped. So apparently,
Have anything to do with a chicken?
no.
Okay. All
You
right.
would think.
Cool.
But so
I
apparently,
mean,
you know how in our last presidential election there was all this voter fraud concern and people are voting who've already
yeah.
voted and they have different
Yeah.
IDs and blah blah blah.
It's not yeah.
Well, back in the 18, I guess 50s really, at this particular time in Baltimore, on October 3rd of 1849, or October, there was election time. They were voting on some things that were pretty big deals. So
Okay.
one of the ways that people would try to make sure that their person won is they would coup people. And that means that they would kidnap them, they would drug them or force them to get drunk and put them in different disguises
What?
in order to make them go vote several times. So he was found right outside a polling place, a place to vote. And
Oh.
so it may be that he had been cooped, he'd been kidnapped. They gave him alcohol, which did ultimately kill him. But that's why he was in weird clothes that weren't his, because they were making him change his
His
clothes in order to go vote. But it's such a bizarre, extreme thing that apparently
That's
happened for
crazy.
real. Like, enough people were actually
Like it
kidnapped.
happened enough times to be
Right?
like, this is a
It's like,
thing.
the hell?
Holy crap.
So that's my favorite one. Uh, but they ultimately we'll never know. Back in 2017, they took some of the hair samples, and
Hmm.
from that found concentrations of lead, arsenic, mercury, other things that can probably kill you.
All the things.
but they didn't find anything in a high enough concentration that would lead to the symptoms that he experienced.
Okay.
But this is a caveat. They don't know how old the hair was that was clipped, like how close to.
Ah, gotcha.
So if it, because most people don't clip up here, they usually like clip a
Hmm.
little bit. So he could still have suffered from, because guys, he literally was taking mercury. He had taken it as a treatment, and he could have had taken it again because he seemed to be
Right.
convinced that he had cholera again or was still sick or whatever. And we all know mercury does not do good things for you.
No.
It's
No,
mad
it
as a
doesn't.
hatter for a reason. And he was actively hallucinating things that weren't there. And some of them are fucking scary. And you're like, okay, okay. Um, so they don't really know exactly even what he died from because the symptoms are such a vague kind of like brain
It wasn't
fever and
anything. Yeah.
hallucinations, and you're like, well, okay, that can be.
It can be a
Well, I mean,
lot
it
of
could be
things.
syphilis. Like he could have had,
Yeah, like,
you know.
yeah, you have some kind of infection
And
or
since
something. And
nobody
it's,
stole
yeah.
his brain, we'll never know. But after
Or did they? Or did they? Because,
it's
the
really on a shelf in the
military.
middle. Oh my god, it's totally Indiana Jones in the at the end.
Uh,
You know what I'm about. At the brain
oh my
room.
gosh. Yes.
So it wasn't until after Poe's death that Annabel Lee first appeared in print. So one of our favorite
Okay.
poems was actually printed posthumously, which makes it even more
Nice.
sad.
I know, right? Because, I mean, it's such a sad poem
Yeah.
anyway, but.
I will tell you a bizarre thing. So after he had died, Rufus Wilmot Griswold, who was one of Poe's literary rivals, did everything in his power to destroy Poe after his death. Like just like the level of petty and hate was quite strong. Like
Wow.
Poe died, you, you know, at not a great time in his life. He was trying to come back. He
Right.
was trying to fix. He was sad. His wife had
Right.
died. Things got bad. But he was trying to come
He was
back.
depressed.
He was doing pretty good,
Yes.
actually. He'd been pretty happy. He was trying to come back, and then he died. But then this guy literally writes an obituary under a pseudonym that gets printed everywhere, and it was filled with falsehoods calling Poe a lunatic, saying he walked the streets in madness and melancholy, that his lips would move in indistinct curses, or his eyes would upturn in passionate prayer.
God.
Like he just to make him sound psychotic.
Right.
And the the obituary started. Are you ready? Edgar Allan Poe is dead. He died in Baltimore the day before yesterday. This announcement will startle many, but few will be grieved by it. Like, what a dick!
Oh my
Well,
god. Wow. That is like, oh, again, a level of petty that I aspire to be
and
sometimes,
and he didn't let go. Even after he was
He's
found out,
been,
he didn't let go. He later wrote a biographical article and said that Poe was depraved and drunken, a
oh
drug
God.
addicted madman, and would use like sections of some of Poe's letters to kind of prove it. As you do, you cherry pick.
Yeah.
And,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, we're still somewhat like, we're still perceiving Poe under that to some degree that paints some like our picture of him. And what I found interesting,
Yeah.
so there are only 7 photographs of Edgar Allan Poe. And
Mhm.
6 of them were taken in the last like 2 to 3 years of his life. So after his wife got sick and was dying and everything was bad and things weren't
Yes.
working out. So that's the ones that we see is sad, miserable Poe. But like the first one, he's like not got he's got like side chops and no mustache and he's a happy guy and he apparently was like a funny, good guy to hang out. People loved him. And he never used Allen, by the way. He never signed anything with that. He would be Edgar A. Poe, but mostly just Edgar Poe.
Yeah.
But like everyone was like, Edgar was like the greatest guy. You invited him to the party because he was funny and you laughed and had a good time and he was really lighthearted. And you're like, really?
You're just like, that
That's,
doesn't sound
that's
like the person who would write something called The Telltale Heart.
right, right. But
Uh
and the
huh.
other thing is, so he wrote so much more than most of us will ever see, because when you buy like the great tales and poems, it's only the macabre, melancholy ones. He wrote other things too.
Right.
So, yeah. But
Well,
that's the story of Edgar Allan Poe.
that is
And the fact that there's like
also
a
like,
whole week of time that you're like, the fuck happened? Where were
and
you?
everybody's like, we don't
One
know.
that
We
no
don't
one, because
know.
like no one came forward, no one ever figured it out. Lots of people have been consumed for years trying to figure it out, going through old stuff, just like what happened to him. He
Right.
was trying so hard.
Like, why was he crazy?
Well, and couldn't tell anyone what had happened. Because that'd be Claire, if they found you in the gutter in clothes that were not your clothes, and like, I'm gonna be like, Claire, what happened? What happened to you? That's what I'm gonna keep asking you over and over and over. Like, the fuck you doing?
Oh my
And you're
gosh.
gonna be like, I got cooped, man. I got cooped.
Shit. What about, look, that is crazy. So one of the theories is it's like, oh, we're gonna like, weekend at Bernie's it or whatever,
That's
you know,
100% what it is. How do you make
because
sure
that's what
they're
you're like,
voting
I'm
for
gonna
what
dress
you
him in some
want? I
clothes.
don't
What?
understand.
All for presidential election or
Well, I
whatever.
don't even think it was that.
Any or even just
I didn't read that far into that because I haven't finished this book completely yet. But
what?
it was just
Oh
like
my
some
gosh.
random election crap happening at the time. Like it was a big fucking deal for them, but
Right.
they were just like, no, we got to make sure like our teamster, or our guy, or whatever they call him. I don't know. So
A representative or whatever.
it
Yeah.
was kind of bananas.
That's that would be really sad though. It's like, oh, you died because these people wanted to get their person voted in. Like,
Well,
what?
and like, can you imagine if you had been one of the people doing the cooping or whatever, to be like later put the pieces together, be like, fuck, I killed Edgar Poe.
Right, right. Yes. It'd be like, oh snap.
But man, it's such a weird thing. There's lots
It
of, I
is.
mean, you can
Yes.
still visit. He still has there's a house you can visit, I think, in Richmond. In Baltimore's obsessed with him. You can visit his grave there. It's on my bucket list.
We should do that.
So, but there it is. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, that was great.
Thank you.
Because I do like Edgar Allan Poe. Like
I
he's
know, right? He's so good. So, I guess that means that it is now time for
yes.
tarot time with April. Spooky, spooky. Are you enjoying my sticker?
I am because I took that sticker and put it on a magnet.
It felt very important to have it. All right, Claire. Tell me when to stop.
Yes.
Oh, Lord. What a weird episode.
It is. Yes.
Brains in jars,
Yeah. Stop.
Poe in other people's clothes.
It's like leaving jars of brains just wherever.
I mean, I'm never gonna get over like the Uber Eats delivery.
Just like in the paper sack. Yep.
Oh, we're starting off with justice. Nice.
Whoa. We had that one.
Moving on. The Pope has returned. Apparently, I still haven't learned whatever the fuck I'm supposed to learn.
Oh my gosh, the Pope is hanging
I'm
around.
here for you, Popey Pope. And we're gonna end with the Seven of Pentacles.
7 of Pentacles.
Let me dig out my book, 'cause I don't know what justice is. We all know what the Pope is. We've just, it's fine. Learn our shit. So that we can, be the
You still got shit
intermediaries.
you need to learn.
Like, for the next thing. It's learning the shit for the next thing. Sometimes I feel like the cards are judging me. I'm trying.
Probably.
I really am. There it is. Justice.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, it's giving me a lot of other things that isn't super. Well, actually, it was pretty similar. Let's see. Everything in this card is even. I have a feeling that she would pull a Solomon without hesitation and cut the baby in half. Well,
Okay.
she will start moving
cool.
as soon as she makes her decision and will carry it out. Justice is about action. Like that.
Okay.
And don't forget, she's holding a sword. The sword suit is all about intellect. If you can imagine that Justice is holding the Ace of Swords, you get an idea of the pragmatism that lives in this card. When it comes up in a reading, you have to take all of your emotions out of the decision you need to make. Make a list of pros and cons, do research, be a brain, not a heart. It can also mean that you're about to get judged.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really hide from this one, and you can't lie. It's like Judge Judy has a beat on you. Unnerving. So, okay, so
Judy.
time to make decisions. We're gonna make decisions, I guess, about whatever it is that I need to fucking learn.
Right.
Maybe I'm gonna have to. I think I need to do some more Hierophant the Pope research because I feel like I'm missing something. Otherwise,
Like,
it would
you're
stop
like, I
coming
need to
up
do
all the
something.
time, right?
Right.
So, I will look into that. All right, 7 of Pentacles. Oh, this is the little red hen card, where it's about
Okay, gotcha.
hard work and waiting for that work to become something tangible. Okay. Interesting. Make the decision, learn the stuff, work your ass off in order to get the rewards. Right?
Shoot. Yeah. That was good to me. I'm just like,
Oh, and I actually forgot this week's sweary affirmation.
I was gonna say, I was gonna wait for you to like switch back over screens, but
I'm
yeah.
not gonna, I'm gonna, yeah, maybe I'll wait. I'll put this in after. Okay. Let's go ahead and see what our topic is going to be on our wheel
Oh
of
yeah.
fate.
Yes.
I will say I added a whole bunch of topics. I hope they're all still here because I don't currently see them, which might be a me problem. So hold on. I've got to find the thing because I didn't do this right. There it is. Okay.
There we go.
There we go. All right. So you might see we have lots of new topics on our wheel. Oh,
yes.
great. So here we go. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm very excited. So many new topics. It's gonna be. Oh, it moved just barely.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be the other one.
I know.
Around the
Around
world.
the world. Things that have an action that takes place, whether they're going all the way around the world or something like that.
Okay, I see
Like,
what you're saying.
some element of travel in it, I suppose.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
All right. That'll be fun and exciting.
I
I
really
thought
thought
it
it was
was
gonna
going
be
to
the
be
other
Dumb
one.
Ways to Die, man. I'm
I
almost
did
sad.
too.
I feel a little sad about it now. Fine. Around the world it is. Around the world.
It's fine.
That's fine. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to read us this week's sweary affirmation. Are you ready for
Yay!
it?
Yes.
Fear is an asshole. You can absolutely fucking do this.
Yes.
That's right. Whatever it is this
That's
week,
correct.
with,
That is correct.
Justice and the Pope and our little red hen, hanging out. But whatever. Whatever.
Right.
Well, this has been a fun episode.
It
I'm gonna
has.
have to make lots of jokes about Einstein's brain in a jar forever.
Right.
Uber
Yes.
Eats
It's like,
Einstein.
I know. It's like, oh my gosh.
you know, this is terrible. The kids show little Einsteins.
Yes.
Now I'm just picturing them as little blocks of his brain.
Like, yes, like each one's got a little
Little
boo.
Einstein
Oh my gosh.
going on our trip in our little rocket ship. It's really just a brain in a jar. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
You're welcome. Anyway.
Oh jeez.
Until next time, you can find us in all the things and at all the places at.
Brunch and Judge.
Please follow, like, comment, subscribe, share, do a rain dance.
All the
All the
things.
things. All the things. And if you would like to
Yes.
add some topics to our wheel or gives us some stories that you'd like to hear, you can send those to us at
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
So until next time, keep on brunching.
And keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye.